Content warning. The stories and themes shared throughout this podcast may contain themes that can be distressing for you. If needed, please pause and do what you need to do to take care of yourself. If needed, please reach out to a mental health professional for support.
Welcome back to another episode of Resilient AF with Blair and Alana. But today, it's just Blair, but not just Blair. It's also Nina Rodriguez. I met her through the grief community, and she's such a light. And I'm honored that her story is going to be in Resilient AF Stories of Resilience Volume 2. She's absolutely amazing. She's the founder of Grief and Light, podcast host, and a certified grief guide. She created the Grief and Light podcast after the sudden and unexpected loss of her only sibling, Yosef, as an authentic exploration of grief and life after loss. Through each conversation, she aims to give a voice to the griever's experience and foster a more grief-informed, hopeful world, which is why, one of the reasons I love her, one of the reasons, because let's normalize these conversations. Let's prepare, right? Let's talk about it. And beyond this podcast, Nina extends her heart-centered support through Grief and Light, the community, monthly circles, one-on-one grief tending sessions, speaking engagements, has a very active presence on social media, and forthcoming in-person retreats. That's amazing. She's been featured in various publications, on podcasts, regularly contributes to Get Griefy magazine, and she has completed the Grief Care Professional Certificate Program under renowned psychotherapist and best-selling author It's Okay That You're Not Okay. Megan, is it Divine?
Megan Devine, yes.
Megan Devine. I actually really love that book. So that's cool that you trained under her. And you can learn more about her at griefandlight.com. Her links are below. But without further ado, hello, Nina.
Hello, Blair. Hello, audience, listeners, and wherever you're tuning in from. It is such an honor to be here and to be having this conversation with you. Thank you so much for this space and having me.
I want to dive into your story, and I just want to first say, I really appreciate how you show up and how you're open to talking about grief and your experience losing your brother. I have I have never lost a sibling, so I can't imagine how painful it is. So I just want to acknowledge that I really appreciate you stepping forward and being a voice in sibling loss. It's really important work, and I would love to learn more about you and Yosef.
Thank you so much. And yeah, sibling loss. I mean, every loss has its own nuances, and I know you've experienced multiple losses. So in the world of grief, one thing I've learned is that the worst loss, quote unquote, worst loss is really just our own. It's whatever touches us personally. And unfortunately, my experience began with the loss of my brother, Joseph, whose photo, if you're watching, is right behind me. He's always my why. He's the reason behind everything that I've done in the grief space. And he passed September 11, 2019, the day after he turned 32. At the time, I was working in real estate, and it was an average, uneventful Wednesday. I happened to call him on FaceTime the day of his birthday, and everything seemed fine. Next thing I know, I got this intuition, this call to say to my husband at 7 o'clock in the evening after a long workday, if we could drive over to see my brother, to sing happy birthday. Something in me really, really wanted to sing happy birthday to him on that particular day. So we drove an hour north because it's not that close. And we sang happy birthday, and it was a lovely time. I thought it was interesting because my parents ended up showing up, and my mom starts retelling the story of my brother's birth. And I thought that was interesting because it wasn't a typical conversation. So she's saying, oh, when you were born, this and that. And I videotaped that encounter. And it was just such a beautiful moment. My brother says, thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, sister. Thank you. To everybody that was there, he went person by person thanking. And I have the video of that. Not thinking anything of it, we go back home. The next day, I get the call. And ironically, we had FaceTimed about 3 hours before I got the call. And so I saw his face, and I remember he was walking outside towards my grandmother's house. He was supposed to dog sit our uncle's pet for the weekend. He was going there to meet my uncle to get the dog. He's walking outside. The sun is on his face, and it just looked angelic. I remember that was the word that crossed my mind. He looks so angelic, and not a word that I typically think about. Again, didn't think anything of it. 3 hours later, approximately, I get the call from my dad. And it just, something in me broke, something in me disconnected because I said, what are you saying? I literally just was with him yesterday. I saw him on FaceTime a little bit ago. And in that moment, I can't remember if I fell to the ground, if I screamed. I don't know what happened. I just remember this very strong disconnection from who I was and the motions of life. I told my husband, we drove. I remember seeing a full moon lighting the path. I was so angry at the moon because I was thinking, did the energy of the moon like really mess with my brother? Like, what happened? Why is this happening? And long story short, I was catapulted into the world of grief and loss. He was my only sibling. I have a small family. It's mom, dad, and brother. And there at the time, it was September 2019. At the time, when I looked for information, I honestly could not find much. It was the stages of grief. Sibling loss was like nowhere to be found. Sibling loss is often referred to as the forgotten mourners because everybody asks, how are your parents doing? How's your mom? How's your dad? And the grief of a sibling is often looked over and unacknowledged. And shortly thereafter, we experienced the pandemic, which added another layer of instability, insecurity, questioning our future and where life was going to take us. And me really trying to understand what the heck is this grief thing. The worst thing I had ever experienced was about 3 weeks to get over. So I said, let's double that time. 6 to 8 weeks, I should be over this. Definitely was not. I asked a friend. She said, oh, honey, this is for a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a little bit angry at her for saying that because I was like, well, that's your experience. That doesn't have to be my experience. That could be your lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And funny enough, the more you learn about grief, the more you learn about loss. It truly is an experience to be lived with. It evolves as your life evolves. And if it's related to the loss of a person or pet or a beloved, it's something that accompanies you throughout your whole life. And at the end of the day, it's very unique to each person, which is part of the journey that we've been on since.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I am so sorry for
Thank you.
such a devastating, heartbreaking loss. And, like leading up to it all the time, you got to go wish him happy birthday in person and FaceTiming him. What do we know what caused his death?
Yes. So on his death certificate, it says found, which I feel it's almost poetic. He passed away in my grandmother's house. And when I read the autopsy report, all I saw was fentanyl. So he passed away, I'm assuming, from fentanyl poisoning. And he had struggled with addiction for many years. And it was something that we had to live with. Addiction has formed a part of my life since I was about 14, 15 years old, which is when it all started. And ironically, this was the strongest I had seen him. He had even gained a little bit of weight because he was in recovery. He was going through therapy. He was getting his life in order. He was calmer. And so I, for once, had faith that maybe we're on the path to recovery, like the permanent path to recovery, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if you've experienced addiction or know somebody or love somebody who's experienced addiction, you know that it's anything but predictable. It's always a surprise. It's like a box of chocolates that nobody wants. But I was hopeful. We were all very hopeful. He had been sober for over a year and a half. So it was a bit of a surprise to see that on the report.
That's so hard. It's so hard. And addiction is such its own character of beast. Like, I'm sorry you went through that. Addiction's a family disease, it's a community
Truly,
disease. And
truly.
I know this because my father lived with addiction. And there was a couple times where, like, we got phone calls that he was in the hospital and to prepare to come home. And he came through. But in the end, like, his addiction did kill him, but it was like more of a slow
Yeah.
death that evolved from a disease. So my heart goes out to you and your family, having to navigate
Likewise.
addiction and that's interesting that on the death certificate it said found.
I thought that was weird. And I don't know if they've updated that. And I honestly, if they have, I haven't wanted to look because I
Yeah.
almost It's like they found him. He's been found somewhere, I guess. There's
Yeah, like
something
he found
poetic about it.
peace. He
He
found
found
peace from
peace,
he's
maybe.
maybe. Well, okay.
Mhm.
I mean, I sure want to believe that he wherever he is now, he's no longer in pain.
I would love that. And I think, I started having a lot of spiritually transformative experiences after his passing, especially in the form of dreams. And I did a podcast recently with Dr. Joshua Black of Grief Dreams. And so what I started to do is record any like unusual thing I noticed, like any synchronicities, any signs. And I asked my parents to do the same. I said, could you please, please, please let me know anything that shows up for you related to my brother? So I started putting them in the notes section of my phone. And I had, at first, I didn't know how to interpret the dreams. I just made nothing of it. But with time, I noticed, oh my gosh, these dreams are like, they have messages and they're very real. And some of them, I would say like 90, 95% were regular dreams, but about 5 to maybe 10% felt like visitations. And so 5 years and 3 months later, I have over 200 dreams of my brother on recorded on my phone, some of
Wow.
which have had like real life consequences. So something I can say now that I couldn't say in the early days is I do believe there's life after life. Death is but a continuation of the cycle of who we are.
Mhm.
I do believe that we are a spirit having a human experience, and this is our current present incarnation. This is something that each person has to arrive on their own.
Yeah.
It's not something that I force on people, especially if I work with grievers. I don't tell them what to believe. This is just something that is true to me. And I have found through the messages and the dreams and the signs and the synchronicities. And I personally believe it's a language that we develop with our person, with our guides, with whatever it is that we choose to connect to and believe in.
Mhm.
So my heart tells me, my intuition tells me, the dreams tell me that he's okay. And whatever next iteration of his life that he's moved on to is exactly where he needs to be right now. Um, but we miss him. The human side of me like misses him like crazy and obviously feels the grief and the pain. But the fact that he's my why behind this work and has led me to so many beautiful connections, including yourself. And I see the Resilient AF book in there right behind you. So I know it's packed with stories of people who have gone through similar situations. Just the fact that we get to talk about them, we get to do this work, we get to connect to each other. I just feel it's like the ripple effect of this love we have for them. That's not to say they
Yeah.
had to die for us to be here. I
Mhm.
believe we could have gotten to hear whatever this iteration of our lives is in a different way, but it's the one that showed up in our lives, and here we are. And I am appreciative of that.
Yeah, that is so poetic and so beautiful, and there's so many things to unpack there. Okay,
Yeah,
so I'm gonna come back to the dream thing, but I
sure.
just want to say, like, and I say this all the time, and like, I don't know if I probably didn't invent this, but like, we grieve hard because we love hard.
Mhm.
You know, grief is a part of love, and we can grieve and we can like be sad and grieve and be happy and live meaningful lives at the same time. Like it's not grief or this other thing, it's grief and
Yeah.
and it's because we're carrying this love with us. So I think that's really beautiful. Now, oh my gosh, dreams. Okay. I love this. I'm
My
woo and
favorite
like I'm
topic.
also like I'm a woo Jew, woo woo Jew
Uh,
Jew, whatever. Um I don't impose anything on people. I share my experience just like you.
right.
And I moved away from my hometown in Winnipeg, Manitoba when I was 21, which was almost 20 years ago. Oh my God, I'm so old.
Good
Anyways,
time.
and yeah, so because I moved across the country, across Canada, I only would see my mom a few times a year. Like, yeah, we had FaceTime and stuff, but like in person, I'd go to Winnipeg a couple times a year, and sometimes we'd go on vacation, and sometimes she'd come to us. So maybe 4 times if I was lucky. And ever since my mom died, so for those of you who are new to this podcast, I had a lot of loss in a very short period of time. I've had a lot of loss also outside of that, but in a very short period of time, my husband almost died. He's alive, thank God. Thank whoever, thank spirit. We suffered a miscarriage. My father-in-law passed away a few weeks later. My mother passed away a few months later, and my dad died, all within a very short period of time. And I've also lost an aunt and both my grandfathers and one of my grandmothers. And all of those people come to me in my dreams, but not all the time. My dad, I had a really cool experience with my dad because my dad really suffered. And he went out like he fought till the very end, like he held on. And it's so interesting because he didn't come to me right away. I had this dream that was so real, and like on the dream I was trying to call Shane, my husband, and like the lines kept getting crossed, and I was like, and my dad was there. I'm like, Dad, I'm trying to call Shane, like what are you doing? And I'm like, wait, Dad, how are you? He's like, I'm doing really good, like I love it here. And I was like, I woke up and I was
Wow.
like, whoa, my dad
No, that's
talked to me, like
amazing.
goosebumps. But my
Sure.
mom comes to me all the time. Like I think I see my mom more now in my dreams than I did when she was alive. And
That's
I
amazing.
hold on to that. And during like life, I see signs. And I'm going to share this story quickly.
Please.
Because like you understand signs. Like I started documenting them, but they happen sometimes so fast that like, and my mind is all over the place with my ADHD and like the million things I'm trying to do to change the world. But I very much acknowledge the sign when I see it. And I recently was like questioning my purpose on this planet. I had a really long car like by myself, a road trip. And I was like out loud, I'm like, Mom, send me a sign. Like, let me know I'm on the right path. Like, am I doing the right thing? Because I'm in a space of innovation and like financially it's scary. Like I'm not, it's not like my PR agency or having a job. Like I'm taking a lot of risks. And like I know it's right on the soul level, but like, is this sustainable? And the answer is yes. But like question myself. And I was like, Mom, send me a sign. Send me like an eagle or a peacock. And like, I'm driving to Montana. Like, eagles maybe, but like peacocks? Anyways. So I get to the border from Canada to the US and I'm like, I have to go to the washroom. Where is it? And the border security guy's like, well, we only have outhouses, honey buckets, he called them. But half an hour down the road is a cafe called Sharon's. And that's my mom's name. I was like,
Wow.
okay. I couldn't find Sharon's, by the way, but like knowing that it was somewhere out there. And so then I'm driving and I'm like, Mom, was that the sign? Because like that's not what I asked for, but like that, I get it. And then an eagle, as I'm asking that out loud, an eagle swooped down in front of me. I was like, okay, that was for sure the sign, right? And an hour later, another eagle swooped down in front of me. I'm like, okay, I'm on the right path. I get it. And then I got to my friend's place, and another one of my friends was there, and he showed me his sketchbook, his art book, and I flipped, and it's full. I just randomly opened it to a quote about peacocks. I was
No.
like, okay.
Three for
So
three.
yeah, so I was like, that's four signs. That's Sharon, two eagles, and a peacock. Like, I get it. I am on the right path. So signs are all around us. Like, are our eyes open for them? And like in our dreams, like, are we paying attention? Like, I meet so many people who are like, you know, I I don't remember my dreams, or my mom never comes to visit, or whoever has passed. Well, I think like if you do dream, wake up and document it because the more you do that, the more they come, the more vivid they are. But also maybe write a note and put it under your pillow like, "Hey mom, like or to whoever you've lost that you want to come visit, write them a note and invite them to come see you in your dreams and ask for it. And ask for it before bed every night and give them that permission because it's really beautiful and I'd say 95% of the time, my mom and my dad and everyone that's coming to visit is alive and looks really healthy. There's only a couple sad, scary, like re-experiencing their death. But mostly it's pleasant and like my mom's like riding a bike. I've never seen her ride a bike. I've seen like my mom and my aunt and my grandma sitting at a table by a pool of swimming lessons. Like just like things that I've never seen, but everyone's happy and healthy. And it's just such a gift.
Truly. And I'm so amazed that you got so many clear signs. Like in case you were questioning the Sharon or the eagle, like
Or the
you
other
got
eagle.
all, or the other eagle. Like let's just, double validate this one. So that's beautiful. And I'm glad that you were able to see it and receive it. With signs, our mind or human mind or monkey mind, if you will try to like explain it or question or justify it or whatever. The way I look at it is like, is it helpful to you or is it not helpful to you? Would
Mhm.
a sign, I say, if it makes you pause, it's a sign, right? You don't need scientific proof or data or dissertation like saying yes, it's valid. It's just, did it make you pause? Did it make you smile? Did it make you feel closer to your person? Did it bring some kind of joy or closeness to your day? That's it. It's a sign. Like
It's a
accept it.
sign. There's some stuff that you
And
just can't explain. And like, why do you need to try and dissect it? Like, just if you feel like it's a sign or it could be a sign, it's a sign. Like, you get to determine that,
And
right?
about dreams, you said something very important. And so in the interview that I did with Dr. Joshua Black, he studies grief dreams, right? That's literally his whole life's work is about studying grief dreams. And so one thing is there's people that want to dream with their person, but they're sad that they can't. And they say, well, how come I don't dream with them? And one thing is dreaming, and the other thing is dream recall. So remembering your dreams is different than dreaming. You probably are dreaming. If you're having a full night's sleep, you probably are dreaming. Whether or not you can remember that is a different story. But the key is what you said about writing it down. He said there is proof that you can increase the rate of your dream recall. And he gave the percentages. I can't remember off the top of my head, simply by writing it down. He even has this, I might share it with you, the dream, I forget what he calls it, but it's basically like how to create the dreams that you want. It's like a dream planner, if you will. And all it is like putting you in the energy and putting you in the mindset of being able to increase your recall. The flip side of that is some grievers, some people who lost, especially somebody traumatically, or there's a level of stress attached to the loss, sometimes have traumatic dreams. So it also works to decrease the rate of your traumatic dreams. And it's just fascinating because at the end of the day, don't question whether or not it's real, it's not real. If it brings you comfort and peace and whatever, by all means, just take it for what it is. And that's it. Now, what I find is like you just expressed, some dreams feel so, they are visitations. Like they feel like you actually interacted with a person. Their responses in the dreams are not something you would have said or made up. And I've had multiple dreams like that. Like I remember one of them, I asked my brother, like, where are you now? Where do you live? And he said, oh, I live in the da 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 da. And I said, in the dream, I said, oh, that's a really complicated word. Like, I don't think I'm going to remember that. And he's like, don't worry, it's in the Bucharest galaxy. And I was like, in the Bucharest galaxy? Now, that's a weird word, but when we were kids, and I speak Spanish, I'm Puerto Rican, so there's a kids rhyme that says "Cucaramácara títere fue," like it's like a little kids rhyme, and "Cucaramácara" sounds like Bucara, and I said, "Oh, I can remember that one, sure." So I woke up, I remembered the word, I looked it up to see if it means anything, and it's Swahili for a secret place. So he's like, I live in a secret place.
Goosies.
Right. And I'm like, I didn't even know about that word. So it's like you have these exchanges in your dreams that are so powerful. And if you have had dreams and you're questioning some of it, by all means, take this as like your permission to lean into them, to receive them, and start writing them down so you could increase the recall if that's something you wish for.
I love that. Oh, that's so good. I feel like I can talk to you forever, but so I invite you to dive into the world of Nina Rodriguez in Grief and Light. Her links are all in the show notes, her website, her social links. You also have a gift for everyone. You're giving everyone 20% off any one-to-one service and free access to the Grief and Light, the community, and the links in the show notes. So if you want to take her up on any of that, please visit the show notes. And what advice do you have for someone who quite suddenly loses a sibling?
Show yourself grace. That's first and foremost. Your grief is valid, and be very, very gentle with yourself as you learn who you are becoming.
Snaps for you. Be gentle with yourself as you learn who you are becoming.
Right.
That is so important and very true.
Yeah.
Right? We're never the same.
No. And that's okay.
And that's okay. I mean, that's like the one thing that's constant, right? Change.
Right.
And some of the change is out of our control.
And I say that in the same way that a person having a child for, let's say, their first child, right? When a child is born, so is a parent, so is a mother, so is a father. The other side of it would be loss. So when we lose somebody that we love, there's this new version of ourselves being born. So getting to know that version of ourselves, getting, finding our footing in this new paradigm takes time, and being gentle is so, so key.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're amazing. You're so inspirational. And I'm so honored to call you a friend, even though
Thank you,
you're on the
friend.
other side of the continent. So I can't wait to give you a big, juicy hug when we meet in person.
Yeah.
And, just thank you for the work that you're doing and for being the light in grief.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing. We're
Thank you.
recording this for the listeners in December, but we are going to meet in person in January, God willing, in New York.
Mhm.
And I am so excited. I am thankful for the space you have created, for the community you have built and continue to build. And I'm grateful that even though we experienced these losses, in a way they brought us together. So thank you so much.
Yes. Oh, likewise, I echo all that. And to you, our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Resilient AF. It's because of you that we are here doing this work. Together we heal. We are meant to go through life as community, not alone. And it's okay if you're not okay, but you're going to get through it. And we are that lighthouse in this storm. Because, friends, just remember, you are resilient AF. That's a wrap for another episode of Resilient AF with Blair and Alana. And thank you for listening. Are you feeling inspired to bounce forward?
Let's connect at theglobalresilienceproject.com, where you can read many stories of resilience, buy our books, shop our clothing line, learn more about how to strengthen your resilience muscle, be empowered, and more.
Remember, friends, you are resilient AF.